Thanks for joining us. I wanted to this came to me as I was thinking about just this little season that Jed and I had of this Hdtv pilot. So that's what I was going to share with you today in this time. How did this Hdtv pilot come about? So it's funny because Jed got an email that, to me, if I would have gotten that email, I would have instantly deleted it, mainly because you've heard about me being so minimalistic that I might be too quick to throw things away. But it basically was from a production company and said, I found you and your wife online and was wondering if you'd be interested in a TV show. And so again, I'm thinking people get those types of emails all the time and it's fraud and it's nothing. But Jed's like, yeah, I've never thought about a TV show, but that sounds like fun. So he responded, thankfully, to the production company and said, sure, we'd be game. What were you thinking? What are next steps type of thing? And I just laughed when he shared it with me because I was like, there's no way anything will come of this. But I'm glad that you responded and we'll see what happens. And then shortly after that, the production company reached out to us again and said, great, we'd like to schedule some interviews with you over the computer, kind of, like a Zoom interview, because they were not local. The production company was not here in Raleigh. And so he said, okay, sure. Again, thinking this isn't going to go anywhere. And then it led to another interview, which led to another interview. And it's just like every time we did something, we're like, this is as far as it's going to go. There's no way it could go any further. And then we end up with a pilot, which was crazy. But yeah, that's kind of how it all started, with an email to Jed that I would have deleted, and instead he responded.
Wow. I wonder how they got your Jed's contact info and saw you, just from being realtors, you think?
Well, yes. Yeah. He said he had seen our blogs and our website and our, just some of the things we were doing real estate related. And I think these production companies look for some different type of things. And I think in that situation, they were looking for like a husband-wife team, since that seems to be pretty popular on HGTV. So when he found Jed and I, and then started reading about us, and I think he probably looked on Facebook and looked on our company website and just started to think, okay, maybe something could come of this.
Yeah, because it's like you're both realtors. That's probably like an intriguing, different thing. So when you watch HGTV shows, sometimes you're like, did they stage that, or what's is that natural? Are they really this funny or what up? But so how did that go? Was the storyline authentic? Did they plan stuff for you, or did they just let you and Jed kind of do your thing?
Well, that's such a great question, because I think Jed, I tend to do what people tell me to do in some respects. So I'm like, these are the professionals. They know what they're doing. If we're going to get a shot at a TV show, let's kind of go with what they're suggesting. Not in other parts of my life, but in this specific one, I was like, let's let them lead us. And then Jed was like, no, this is not true to Ashley and my character, our personalities, our relationship. So he fought it. And so he would have numerous conversations with the production company saying this doesn't fit us. So for example, they wanted me to drive his truck to the property that I was showing him, the one that I thought was the house we should renovate. And Jed's like, no. Well, first, you don't know my wife's driving record. Second, I love my truck. And again, you don't know my wife's driving record. And third, she would never drive my truck. And I'm thinking, Jed, just let it be. It's a short little fragment of the show. And he's just so annoyed by it, because he's like, you would never drive my truck. So that would be an example of something where they're like, we just need that for the story. Just let it be. And he would, buck up against it a little bit. And then sometimes they would they'd be like, we just want you to authentically play out the scene. They'd give us kind of the parameters of it. And then they would let us do it. And then they're like, okay, we're going to totally change that. And we're like, wait, but that was real. We were doing, what we thought that scene would play out to be. Specifically, if you got to watch the show, they made this big deal of this bathroom vanity, what color we were going to paint it. We were going to shellac it. And so we'd gone to this paint studio and we were, making a big scene of choosing the paint color. And you'd think me being the girl would pick out the hot pink and he being the guy would pick out the teal. But it was the opposite. He was all for the pink. And I was like, no, buying a house with a hot pink vanity doesn't make any sense to me, even if, there is a woman involved in the buying decision. So that was how it played out. But they wanted it to be where, I was picking the hot pink, more traditional to my personality, I guess. So it was just funny how things would play out like that. But they sometimes would give us a chance to be ourselves, and other times they would modify it a good bit to make it what they wanted for their storyline. And then you have to remember this was months of filming. So you could think thousands of hours of film. And we just kept thinking, we didn't get to see the final product until everybody in the world got to watch it. And so we're just like, I wonder how they're going to put all these thousands of hours together into 23 minutes of a pilot. So you can only imagine our fear of are we going to be portrayed like we thought, or are they going to put in all the days that we had, snarky attitudes? We didn't know. So we were a little nerve-wracked just of how those thousands of hours would turn into 23 minutes of a story.
That's crazy. And neither of you are like, oh yeah, we're actors. So it's probably unnatural to be like, yeah, let's just do it this way. That's not ourselves.
Right. One of the big clinchers of the show was we were going to de-split the split level. Uh-huh. And Jed and I had never done that before, never heard of that. It came from the production company owner flew in from Australia, and he's like, what's the deal with the split level? They just didn't have that type of home in Australia. So he's like, I don't understand why you walk into a hole and then walk upstairs. And he's like, I just don't get it. And Jed was explaining the construction of that was a time that split levels was really popular. And so he's like, I think we should consider de-splitting this, make this a non-split level home. And then for the show, of course, they made that my idea, which was never my idea. Yeah. But it was one of the big pieces of the turning points of the house. Yeah.
I think people want to know, do you wish that you were offered a whole season of the show?
That's a good question. Yes.
All right. So I'll let you answer. I'll be right back.
Okay. Awesome. So that's a question I get all the time. Were you and Jed disappointed that you guys didn't get a season? And yes, of course, after this had been a couple of year journey, lots of time and, commitment from us, resources, financially, professionally, that went into this. And so we would have loved to at least got the chance at a season, of course, but we didn't get that. And so we were, super disappointed, especially because it was it built up to this point. And then awesomely, we, got this pilot, and then it didn't get either the ratings they needed. We don't know exactly how it all works, but we definitely think about, would our marriage have been able to handle all of the stress that goes into something like that? Because even just doing a pilot, which was 23 minutes of show airtime, that was stressful for us. And we had a newborn at that time. And so we can't even imagine what that had potentially been like for us. So we hope that it was that God knew what he was doing when he didn't let it work out.
Yeah, God knew all was going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy that you did have a newborn. How was that filming with the newborn and all of that?
Yeah. So we did our sizzle reel, which was what they pitched to Hdtv when on my due date. So I was literally due, because they were like, should we come after the baby? And I was like, I have no idea what it's going to be like to have a newborn. So it would be better if we do this before the baby comes. And so the guy that flew down to Raleigh, he was just so nervous. He was a single guy. How often do women go into labor on their due date? And I was like, well, it's pretty common to go after, especially on your first and all that. And so we were we're totally fine with it. So we filmed that whole day on my due date, and she didn't come for 16 days. So we were fine. But once we did the actual pilot, she was about, I would think 3 to 6 months old at that point. She was even in the show, but I'm literally nursing her in the car with the heat running. And then, would give her to my mom
filming.
And then I'd go in and shoot or I'd be home with her, nap time. And the producer would call me and say, can you guys be here in 20 minutes? And I'm like, let me see what I can do to get there. Again, it was fun, but definitely caused some extra added, stress. And Jed was there most days, most of the day. So he really committed a ton of time to each day, because he was the contractor making sure this house actually, was renovated properly, because we actually bought the house. And so
so I was going to ask, how does all of that work with the finances? Do they pay you to do this, do they like I always wonder like who pays for all the like decor and all the stuff they pull in and all the renovations and all the crews? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So the production company pays for the production company side of things. So all the filming and all of that part. And HGTV and the production company, I think they both offered to pay some towards the house, but Jed and I wanted 100% of the profit from the house. So we said, we will buy the house. But then again, another reason why Jed was very hands-on with this house, because we had a good amount of investment into it. And then also we wanted to make sure that we could resell it. And we're real estate agents. So we knew, there's some of these decisions that may impact resale. So they were fine with us taking full risk and buying the whole house and then getting the full profit. And then they gave some money. Like there were some things that we did to this house that we would never in a million years do to a renovation. Like
they wanted, yes,
they wanted for wow factor. Like, I don't know. I think we spent like 15 to 25,000. I don't remember on just sodding the front yard and backyard. And you would never do that for a renovation. But they wanted the wow, when the reveal of the house was done. So things like that they helped pitch in some of the costs because we're like, we're never going to get that money back. But yeah. And then they paid us like a little stipend to be actors, but nothing to quit your day job over.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I bet that was a lot of hours to put in. How did it go with like, wardrobe, hair, and makeup? Or did you have like your own like assistant team that was like making sure you were put together? How did that look like?
That was what was hilarious and again, if you knew Jed and I, you'd probably say, okay, I can see that. But it was like, once they told us we were going to be doing this pilot, Jed went out and bought all these clothes and all these contractor gear outfits. Because most of his were really, worn because he used them. But then I don't do renovation projects. I hope I didn't just make anybody really sad thinking that they thought I did all these projects, but I don't. I never have. I have no interest in it. Again, that was a part that they made me play in our pilot with me laying hardwoods and I don't do that stuff. Like that was the first time I'd ever really touched hardwood and laid, like Jed's like, okay, you have 5 minutes to learn how to do this. They're going to film it in 10. So this is what we do. It was funny. But I mean, these all they really needed me was on my knees in the right attire and look like I knew what I was doing. It was okay if you had no clue, which I didn't because they would use 10 seconds of that for the pilot. But I had no clothes like that. Like I mean, if you knew me well, you'll know I just don't have that type of clothing. I just don't. And so I love to wear black. I don't have it on today, but I usually love to wear black. And the production company was like, black doesn't show well on TV. You really have got to steer clear of black. We really want bright colors, solids that you wear, alternating throughout different days. And I'm like struggling. I'm like coming to the scene in, like a hot pink vest that is like more of like a dress up vest than like, but I was trying to do colors and she was like, I'm going to come over and we're going to go to your closet. And she came over and she saw what we were working with and she's like, I'm going to go and get you some things. So they went and got me like colored t-shirts, which I was like, I don't wear these. I don't like them. I don't need them. So, but with Jed, it was just so funny because he went and bought all this stuff. I mean, I thought I was doing a good thing because I ordered some overall bibs. I was like, some jean overall bibs, that'll fit the contractor. Like, look, I put them on and they were like, no, take those off. Those do not work. And I was like, clearly I wasn't meant for this role.
So did we touch on this a little bit, but the most difficult part about doing the pilot, would you say was like with your pregnancy with Ellie / when she was born?
Yeah, I would say just because, we were first time parents. So we were learning that. We were both still running our real estate business. So we didn't want to lose that because we couldn't put any stock in this. This was like such a small chance probability. And the production company kept telling us that. They're like, most people at every stage that we got through the process, they were like, most people don't get here. Most people don't get here. So it was like, you keep getting through these really small percentage chances of making it further. So we could put no stock in it. Like, even though our minds were dreaming of what this could mean for us, could not let go what we had in our pipelines with real estate. So I think that was probably the hardest for Jed, was to maintain helping his buyers and sellers and maintain this huge renovation project that was consuming his time.
That you guys had like financially invested in too. It wasn't just like, oh, whatever. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And then, just having a newborn and, what does that look like, and trying to keep a schedule for her. And, with having kids added into the marriage, what that does. So all those pieces, it all felt worth it because we were having fun. And I think the other hard part was we weren't allowed to talk about it a whole lot. So it's like we have this huge piece of our life that's really exciting, but
not very many people knew. Yeah,
because of so many privacy things with HGTV. Yeah.
So I bet this makes you like look at like HGTV shows like so differently now. It's gonna make me do that. I'm gonna be like, does she really know how to put down hardwood floors? But what are some fun facts like that, as viewers, we have no clue? You've already told us some, but are there any other fun facts that we'd be interested to know of behind the scenes?
Well, yes, it's totally ruined my viewing experience of HGTV because now I know all that's happening behind the scenes. Funny things that they told us, like we could not do high fives to each other. Like they're like, that is so overused. So you and Jed can't go like high five. Even after like a big win within the show, they're like,
which is like the natural thing, right?
Yeah, right. Or the other thing they would tell us, like, you can't say, all right, that sounds good, let's go check it out. Like a really easy transitional like phrase that we would use in normal conversation. But if you said that, because you're walking through the house. And so at every transition, if they're only getting 5 seconds or 10 seconds in each space, then you're saying that.
That's the ending. I was going to say, I know on Fixer Upper, they said that like all the time. So I was like, I guess Chip and Joe wore it out. So
right.
No one else can do it.
Because we would say it and then we'd be like, oh, sorry. And they're like, we'll edit it out. But we had to like really be cognizant not to say, let's go check it out, or come on, let's check it out. So we little things like that.
Did it make you anxious at all, being like, oh, like on camera?
Yeah, definitely at first, but after you've done thousands of hours, you get we'd come in after just fighting. We'd come in after I'd had a hard day with Ellie, and they, so it was like,
you're like, put on the camera.
Right. They get you in all different stages of emotional life. And so again, that's why I was so shocked and surprised to see what the combination would be like, because this was over such a long period of time for us. And so, some days I was super cranky and I would just like be kind of short in my filming. And then other times I would be more maybe reserved, because you're
right. It's supposed to be reality TV, huh?
Yeah. No, and they would always say, just talk, you guys do your thing, we can edit anything. So they would always, it never had to be scripted. They never gave us scripts, but they would often have us redo things if they were like, we want the storyline to be different. So we were often doing that type of thing. But yeah, it's funny when I watch HGTV now, because it's like, Jed and I look at it and we're like, why did they get it? Why didn't we get it? Like, what did they have we didn't? We thought just what ours was fun because it was husband and wife, both real estate agents. And I don't think there's ever been a show like that. And then just that we had not what you typically see in a man and woman relationship. Like Jed's more of the design and creative side, and I'm more of the logical budget person. And so we thought they would have a fun time playing off that. But again,
like fit you in the mold.
Right. The production company just kept saying, they're like, this is all going to be to chance. Cause we kept saying, what can we do to, increase our probability of getting this? And, we wanted to give it our best. We're like, this is an opportunity not many people get. So what can we do to make it, just the best we possibly can? And they were like, it is such a game of chance, because it depends on what HGTV is looking for at the exact time that we pitch it to them. But like HGTV sent down one of their crew members, came and watched us for a day and spent time with us. And she was like, I love what I see. This is awesome. Like, she gave us so much hope that I almost wish she wouldn't have. She's like, everything that you guys are doing is great. I love the dynamic between you and Jed. And then our production company said, they're like, we've had less potential, that kind of like, you guys have been the best we've seen. So they they felt really confident we'd make it through. And then I think it's called Hometown. I think I was telling you this. It was another young couple that was in the same kind of phase as us. They were like one step ahead of us, and they got their pilot and then they got a season. And so we have a really hard time watching them at all because we're like, they got it and we didn't. And neither of them have license. Yeah.
Well, and too, just knowing like, all right, that's not what God had for us. But that it's still, I think you guys would have been very entertaining to watch, knowing you guys personally like the opposite and just something different than the typical, what you see typically on HGTV. But.
Right. And then I'm always so bitter when I see like these really pretty girls in their like black outfits on the show or wearing like workout clothes or things. And I'm like, why wasn't I able to do that? Like,
I'm curious this, like, do you know how much you spent like total on the show? Like just your little episode.
I mean, from what we've been told, I think it was between $230,000 to $250,000 that HGTV put into this 23-minute pilot. They aired the pilot twice. It was like on a Saturday afternoon and a Friday afternoon, which were like, are those good times? And I don't know if it counts, if any, people record it, if they watch online. So we were
actors, right? Like the show and how much traction it gets. Crazy. You think about all these little sizzles or shows that they do, and because they do a handful of them. So for you guys to get that far was really impressive.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing that was crazy is like, so the day before the house was ready for the open house and again, we don't do open houses now. That's just not a popular way to sell homes, but for the show, you do an open house, and they went out the day before the open house, spent $50,000 on staging materials, furniture, pictures, plates, cups, everything, artwork, $50,000. Now they would like tuck the tag underneath so you couldn't see it in the pilot. But then literally we go back into the house the next day and it has all been returned. Like, is
that common?
I'm guessing. I mean, I think so. Yeah, I mean, some of those things that we saw behind the scenes was like, wow, just shocking.
Yeah. For sure.
But again, overall, it was such a fun experience, and we got to leverage it, with our business. It gave us some credibility, I think, for people to see us, as real estate agents. So that was fun. So we don't think that it negatively impacted anything, but it still would have been really fun to, have something come of it. Someone had just asked Brittany, she asked, when did it air? I don't have HGTV. Yeah, I don't have HGTV either, but it aired, I think it's probably been 2 years ago this summer, if I'm remembering correctly. 2 years ago? Maybe more. Ellie was born in 2016, so 4 years ago. Time flies. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and watch it. We went to one of your events, and they did it. It was like a movie. What was it? Wreck-It Ralph, I think. And they aired it before. So if people want to watch it, is there a way for them to watch it?
Yeah. I mean, we have a copy of it. I think that there's no way to find it online. I don't know how HGTV does that, but we thankfully got a copy of it. So
you can contact
contact me if we can do a little viewing party or something in our.
That would be fun. Yeah. I'm sure.
Thank you so much for doing it with me. I thought it would be fun. And so thanks everybody who joined us. I see Adrian and Brittany and Laura and Mina. So thank you for jumping on with us. If you have questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them. I just thought this would be a fun way to kind of let you into a little fun season of Jed in My Life when we aired our pilot. And it was called He Sells, She Sells, which we thought was a fun name that we were hoping it would end up at the beach and we would do He Sells, She Sells at the seashore was our goal, but it would be a show that would take us to the beach. Well, thanks, Bethany. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and I'll see you guys next week.